Welcome to the next section of the event here. I'm Claudia, and I'm an influencer marketing strategist here at Tracker. I'm usually really deep into the data at Tracker. So right now I get to have a great experience interviewing some creators on the other side, as well as a talent manager. So we're going to take a little bit of a break from the brand side and start hearing from some creators. So I'm super excited to introduce some amazing people on this panel today. Alice Hampton is the founder of ACP Management, a talent agency that specializes in the luxury lifestyle space. Prior to founding ACP, Alice had 20 plus years of experience in the beauty industry, overseeing the global communication strategies at brands like Shiseido Makeup, Bare Minerals, Estee Lauder, Tom Ford, and Clinique. She now represents big name talent on the other side of the conversation, two of which are here today. So welcome, Alice.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We also have celebrity makeup artist Nikki DeRoest with us today. She has created quite the name for herself, working with big celebrities like Addison Rae, Rosie Huntington-Whiteley, and Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Nikki is also an influencer in her own right and has become a go-to source for all things beauty with her 20 plus years of experience in the beauty industry herself. She has served as an official brand ambassador for brands like Bare Minerals, Dior, Chanel, and NARS, and is also currently the global artist in residence for Bobbi Brown. So welcome, Nikki.
Hey.
And last but not least, we have TikTok phenom Kat Stickler with us today. Kat quickly gained international popularity after a series of comedic and heartwarming videos went viral on her account. Kat is unique in that she has built a highly engaged and loyal following based on the principles of kindness, honesty, integrity, and courage, and most of all, comedy. If you haven't seen the series on her TikTok recently about her mom, you have to go take a look. It's one of the funniest things that I've been seeing on TikTok at the moment. And she most recently has been working with the organization All Hands and Hearts to help with hurricane relief efforts from Hurricane Ian. So welcome, Kat.
Thanks for having me.
So we're going to start it off with a question for everyone. We were curious to hear, what would you say are the top 3 elements that you look for when you get a partnership offer from a brand? So let's start with Alice from the manager perspective.
Yeah, no, great question. And hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. So I think number one, authenticity. I mean, I know it's the most overused word in social media, but authenticity is everything. So when a brand is reaching out to a talent, have they seen that talent use the product already? Have they seen it in UGC content? Has the talent already posted about it? I think that's number one. Number two, I think having very clear objectives that are defined from the beginning. So is this an upper funnel awareness campaign? Is it a lower funnel conversion campaign? I think when it's very clear from the talent side and the brand side what it is that we're trying to achieve, it just makes the whole process so much easier. And then lastly, I think a third point would be it has to be a proper brand fit, right? So you've got the brand on one side, which is one thing, but you've got to remember the talent is their own brand as well, right? Each of my girls have their own very carefully curated and crafted brand, and they've got their very distinct brand pillars. So it has to be a mutually beneficial brand fit on both sides. Otherwise, it's probably not going to work. So they're probably my top 3 takeaways, I'd say.
And so going off that, Kat and Nikki, has there ever been a time where you had to say no to a partnership because it just felt inauthentic to your brand identity?
Yes, okay. I think often, very often. And it's changed throughout my career. I think, probably 7 years ago, the types of projects that I was working on is much different than I am today. And it's just based off of kind of the path and the following that I have, what my interests are. And I'm a lot more choosy, I guess, on the things that I agree to work on, because I think authenticity is the number one thing. It has to be something that you feel really proud of, because I think if you're not authentic with it, everyone feels it. The people following you feel it, the brand feels it, and then it doesn't end up being a successful partnership. And that really, I think for creators, you really take that to heart too, because whatever projects you're working on, you really want them to be successful.
Yeah, and you're absolutely going to, produce better content when you really believe in the brand and the message that you're putting across. Kat, how about you? Do you have a different perspective on that?
No, I totally agree. I think if you end up working with brands that just aren't a good fit, you kind of lose that trust you have with your followers. All of a sudden, when you're trying to show them something you use, they don't believe you anymore. Because like I've experienced that with other influencers that I followed when I was younger, before I even had a following. And it was just my psychology like, oh no, I don't like that they tried to sell me this and I bought it and it sucked. So I'm not going to get
it felt wrong for the.
Yeah. And then also I think the brands are going to be fine, like if they have us or not, but our brand could be affected. So I think it's also understanding this creative freedom is so important, and it allows us to do what we're good at, and it allows the brand to really benefit from it. So when it's a really restricted creative freedom, I feel that I always pull back, because I don't want to just do it an ad. Like I want to do something funny. I want to make it relatable and also promote that company or product, whatever it is, but in my own voice. Because like, you can get an ad anywhere. Go get it somewhere else. But if you want to work with me, then that's what I can bring to the table, kind of thing.
And so going off of that, because you do most of your content on TikTok, or at least that's where you started, TikTok is a platform where trends are just always coming and going. Have you ever had a brand come to you and try to utilize a trend that was like in the moment of a couple weeks ago, and you've had to say no because you need to stay with the trend cycle, or that trend just doesn't fit with your brand?
That's a good question. I feel like not necessarily a trend, but more so like, because brands, it has to be a royalty-free music, right? A lot of trends, if it has that, it's not royalty-free music. So if they want me to do something, maybe not a trend necessarily, but something I don't do on my page that other people are doing, like trying on clothes in a certain way and like showing the product, or showing the product like this, and just a very straightforward trend that's been going on, that's not my trend.
Right.
I can't, if I could do it, I would. I just know I wouldn't deliver it in a way that would be good for them or me. So it wouldn't benefit anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. You're following and you know what you're good at. So more on the positive side for all of you, what's something that a brand has done within a partnership that would automatically make you want to work with them again, either in a paid sponsorship or just mention their products in organic content?
I think the biggest thing is if it's a partnership, obviously we want a brief to see what the goals are for the brand in the partnership, but also allowing some space for creative freedom to really speak to our audiences, or using our own voice. Because I think that it's really interesting, and the things that happen organically that are real, that are you feeling confident and what you're doing, always perform amazing. But if it's something that is so scripted, or there's so many rules, it kind of clouds your creativity. And then I don't know, it's like I kind of like clam up and I'm not able to create the best content. So I think having some ease with the partnership and the creativity, and organically, I think it just comes down to, I would say probably 80% of the things that I do are not paid or not something that's a partnership. And I do think that if it's something that was created organically, also having kind of, I wouldn't say boundaries around it, but I don't love it when I create something organically and a brand wants to take it and create an ad out of it, but not compensate. I don't know, like if it's just like, hey, you made this, we want to use it, or they take it and use it without, talking to Alice or notifying me. But, I think organic first into partnerships are always like really great partnerships as well.
I think, and can I just add something, because Nikki, you raised a really great point. I think there's that transition from when we went to influencer marketing back in the day, when it first started really bubbling up. I'd probably say about 8 to 10 years ago. And back in the day, because I was on the brand side, right? And when you would have a traditional ad campaign, you'd get say it's an A-list celebrity for the campaign. You'd put on a big production shoot. You'd have a whole production set. You do, film the commercial, whatever it is. Then you go into post-production. Then you buy all the media, the ad buys in Vogue and Harper's and TVC spots and all of that kind of thing. With influencers, they are all of that in one. So Nikki and Kat are the talent. They're the director. They're the producer. They're the editor. They're also providing you with a channel. So to Nikki's point, right, they're providing you with a dedicated, loyal following of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who love them for what they've created already. So to Nikki's point about being compensated, there is so much more that goes into it than back in the traditional day of just, hiring a big celebrity who was an actress and putting them in a television commercial. So they do have to be compensated fairly. And I think it's just that education piece of how influencer marketing has changed from traditional.
Absolutely. And so do you feel then that when your content is used for UGC or ad content that is then like republished on a brand's channel, even if they've gotten those usage rights, like does that kind of rub you the wrong way? Do you feel like it cheapens your content when that process is done?
I don't think it cheapens the content. I think if I could really imprint anything is that the first 6-10 seconds are so important, because it's not like Alice said, it's not a TV commercial where you have to watch it to get to the show or movie you're watching. You can just swipe. You can just, I don't want to see it. And immediately a lot of people do that if they know that it's an ad. So just kind of giving the creator that freedom, it can be put on their page. If I have that creative freedom, I'll be like proud of that and I'll want that to be put everywhere. But I think that's always, because all the briefs, sometimes it's like the product has to be in the first 5 seconds, but I need to connect really quick first before I throw the product in. And
you need to build into it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
From your manager perspective, like, do you have any advice for how to create creative briefs then that both like guide your talent and also give them that freedom?
When we get a deck, and I get 100 decks a day, right? We've got to download, learn about the brand, learn about the products, the ingredients, the, key selling points, whatever it might be. I think when the brands can do that with the talent as well, and like I said before, they are their own brand. If a brand was coming and say, hey, I want Nikki and Kat for this campaign, I said, okay, we've got 2 very different creators here. They specialize in very different ways. Is this an educational, maybe beauty focus or something? Because then Nikki would be incredible for this. She's an incredible educator. She just, she can take something very complicated and make it into layman's terms, and people love her. She just connects. She's got this authenticity and warmth, and people just, want to learn and listen to her. For Kat, she might be like, that doesn't work for me. I'm going to do more of a comedic twist, and I'm going to get the product in, and everyone's going to watch it right till the end, and they're going to watch it 3 times and not even know that was an ad. So I think it's just very much about understanding the talent you want to work with and letting them be them, right? They know how to be them, and that's why they've become so successful and so big and have such a loyal following. So I think that's the main thing, because I think, to your point, we've all seen the briefs where there's, okay, you've got 30 to 45 seconds to get this in, and here's 100 bullet points. It's like, that's never going to, it's people will just move on to the next one, right? People's attention span these days is so quick. So, we want it to be as successful as you. And as Kat said before, there's a lot to lose from the talent side, right? If it does fall flat, then other brands might be like, oh, I just saw that brand. Yeah, it didn't really work. I don't think I'm going to partner with them. So there's a lot of risk involved. And that's why, I say to all my girls, you've got to be comfortable with being okay to say no. And they all believe that, right? Saying no is just as important as saying yes. And it's not to be difficult, but you really want to be very strategic about which partners you do accept.
And alongside this, decision-making process from the creator side is always the decision about which platform to post on. So, Nikki, I've noticed that you've transitioned to mostly using Instagram, whereas Kat, you're using Instagram and TikTok almost equally. So how do you all decide which platform is the best to produce a partnership on? Is that your choice? And what are some of the maybe data points or just qualities that go into that decision?
I think for me, I'm the old lady that is still very comfortable on Instagram, and I've just started to understand TikTok. It was a very slow learning for me. But I think that's how I've always been with every social media.
You used to produce a lot of content on YouTube also. So.
Yeah. So I'm always a year behind when it comes to jumping onto the next platform. And for me, honestly, I had a really hard time with TikTok at first, because kind of my style of content is really heavily education based. And so even when Instagram was really promoting Reels, it was challenging for me, because I could turn on the camera and film a 5 to 10 minute video teaching a makeup look. And all of a sudden it was like, wait, I have to get this down to, 30 seconds or 60 seconds. So now that I'm more comfortable with that, I think that moving into TikTok will be easier for me, but it really is just kind of remembering that I have 2 opportunities and 2 platforms to use. So for me and my audience, and it's interesting because I'll even on Instagram kind of do a poll on my stories with my audience. And it's like, I ask, like, are you watching things on TikTok? Are you watching things on Instagram? My audience mostly only watches Instagram. Right. So it might just be the demographic of the people that follow me. And so I think that that's also why I've kind of stayed in my comforts. But that doesn't mean that I won't try other things as well. But obviously, a successful partnership with me would be on Instagram.
And can I just quickly ask you what educated your decision to step away from YouTube? Because I often advise clients on not forgetting the power of YouTube. The searchability that is encompassed with that platform is really important, especially if you're doing this more longer form educational content. So do you have just like a reason for stepping away from that platform?
Yeah, I think that it was the same thing of where my followers were ingesting their content. And I think what I loved about Instagram compared to YouTube is that it was more personal. Like, you really are connecting and educating people in a way that, you know, even if I did a long form video like I would on YouTube, on Instagram, it's like closer, I guess, than YouTube. It can be kind of, YouTube is a different audience, I think, than what I prefer. Yeah, I just stuck with Instagram.
Instagram's your home.
Yes.
And Kat, what about you? What makes you make those decisions between platforms?
You have a different psychology when you log into each platform. So if you're logging into TikTok, you're in a different headspace. If you're logging into Instagram, different headspace. YouTube, same thing. So I think kind of harnessing what that is, because something that will go viral on TikTok won't necessarily go viral on Instagram. And just kind of understanding that psychology aspect of it, I think has helped me decide also not even what platform to use, but whatever platform they want, how to control the comedy in a way that will resonate with each audience in a way that's beneficial for everyone.
And is part of that decision also based on what age demographic you're catering to for a certain piece of content, or it's more just the style of content that works?
I actually looked that up last night. I couldn't sleep and I was looking at my demographics. 18 to 25 and 25 to 35 are like equally around there for both Instagram and TikTok for me. The only difference is mostly there's way more women for me on Instagram, and on TikTok there's a little bit more men. So I think it's also like as creators understanding and like the companies and the brands trusting you that you know your craft, like, because you're both investing in each other. Like, I'm investing in that company, they're investing in me. It's a mutual partnership. So just understanding it helps, I think, for those decisions.
So I want to take a moment to step away from partnerships that are more like product driven and start talking a little bit about partnerships that go beyond that, maybe touching on purpose driven campaigns. So a lot of our clients have started to want to infuse these like purpose driven campaigns within their usual marketing. So Alice, how can brands partner with creators on those kind of initiatives in an authentic way?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just said it, Claudia, like authenticity is key. So you brought up earlier, Kat and I were recently out in Fort Myers, Florida after the Hurricane Ian and helping with the cleanup. And we partnered with a charity called All Hands and Hearts. And the reason why this made sense for Kat to do it is because, you know, the hurricane was heading towards Tampa where Kat lives. And she was evacuated 5 hours to Tallahassee. So it was a very real experience she went through. She had to evacuate with the baby, didn't know what she was going to come back to. And thankfully, you know, for Tampa residents, you know, the hurricane turned, but sadly it went to Fort Myers. And so we went out there and it just felt so close to home. And we both just were like, we have to do something. And so, and the great thing is Kat has this incredible platform that she then shared the story with her community. And, you know, in the last few weeks, she raised over $130,000, which is incredible because you see it on television. That's one thing. But when you see it in real life, I mean, it's life changing. And these poor people have nothing. 83,000 homes were destroyed, but you don't see it on the news anymore because people have got COVID fatigue. There's the war, you know, there's Iran issues, there's a war in Ukraine. There's so many other things that we have to worry about. But there's these people who are literally there with nothing. So in that sense, there has to be authenticity. You know, if Kat was maybe if Kat was very passionate about hurricanes and disaster relief efforts, then of course getting involved. But this was very personal to her because it could have been her and it really hit home. So I think there just has to be that authenticity and that emotional connection to then, try and get her fans and followers to help along. And they did, and they achieved incredible results, which is really admirable.
So have you ever had to say no, either of you, to a partnership where a brand is trying to infuse this kind of social justice component within more of a classic marketing campaign? Because obviously All Hands and Hearts, that's a beautiful organization that's directly benefiting these people affected by hurricanes. But often brands have like their charities that are attached to the brand. So how do you also participate in those while making sure that that feels authentic?
I'm trying to think if I've had anything. There's not any that haven't been in line with kind of what I'm about. And I think for me, kind of more of the initiatives that I've done are about women empowerment, entrepreneurship, and educating teenagers and working with children. So I feel like those are all very in line with things that I'm proud of. So I can't think of anything. Can you, Alice?
No, I think the only thing I'd say for both girls, and actually all my girls, is if it's a political move, right? Because obviously everyone has their political alliances and things, but I don't think it's right when brands expect a talent to then whatever their political opinion. That's just a little tricky, because the backlash and the things that we've all seen is very scary. I'm not saying on a personal level to everyone can do whatever they want to do, but I think that's the only thing. But charity wise, I don't think there's been. I know, Kat, you've done a lot with about women, single mums and that kind of thing. There's a lot of various charities that you've partnered with as well. I think it's more the ones we've had to turn down. It's more of a time commitment thing. And also because every day you can't be like this charity, because you're going to lose it. So I think you've just got to be very much in your lane of what really resonates with you. And, Kat's a single mom and recently went through a divorce. And so she has a lot of fans that really support that and go through that journey with her. So she's very aligned with things like that, or things like the hurricane, because it was very close to home. So I think that's the main thing I would say.
So it seems like authenticity, this buzzword, is really the theme of the chat here. And that makes sense. We're all looking for that authentic connection to people we follow, as well as our communities. I'm obsessed with this idea of community marketing right now. And oftentimes brands tend to equate community with followers. So as creators, do you all feel that it is your responsibility to build community, that kind of like authentic community between you and your followers, between the followers with each other? Or is it more your perspective that, you're here to like entertain and educate, and if they create that community within themselves, then that's great? Are these like topics that you all have started thinking about?
I think the community is so important because you become probably the most messaged phrase I get on Instagram is I really want to be your friend. Like, I feel like we'd be best friends. And I'm like, really? I'm so weird. You probably don't know. But like they just really humans want connection. We just crave connection. We can't even help it. So if they connect with themselves, that's fine. I mean, I feel like I have a little army because what I've been through is so, people don't really talk about it. It's a little trepidatious. You don't really want to step on any toes, but people just come and defend me. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. So I feel like I do have that community built because they saw me, like Alice said, we formed that connection emotionally because they saw me so happy and married with a baby. And then they saw me so sad when it all went downhill. And then they saw me try to find myself again. Like they saw me in this apartment by myself with a baby in the air mattress. And then they saw me like dating again and figuring out how to do these things as a single mom. So they went through it too. So they are invested in it. So I think it'll happen naturally. If you are authentic and what you're comfortable with sharing, that community will just form on its own. I don't think you even have to worry about that. I feel like that just is a natural thing that happens on these platforms, which is a really cool thing too.
And how much do you think that comes from directly interacting with them, like commenting back, responding to their messages? Because I just can't imagine how much your inboxes are flooded. How do you choose like how to navigate that?
That's a good question. I'm so like, I want it to be 0, but Nikki, I'm sure you probably do this. You keep responding and then it's like 99 plus, no matter how many you go. So I do just go through it. I respond to DMs every single day. Like every single day I respond. Not necessarily the comments on my posts, but sometimes I do. But I feel like in the DMs I get a lot more personal and emotional. I can give everyone something different. And I feel like that is so important. Yeah, you have all these followers, but that one connection is so important. It makes a huge difference and it means something to someone. And I never want to lose sight of that. Even when I didn't have any followers, I would always do that. And it would be like 10 people I'd respond to. I'd be like, all right, done, I'm good. And then when it kept building up, it was just really cool. It was like I made friends.
Yeah. So Nikki, as someone who's been on Instagram for a while, I'm sure you have this like loyal group of followers, and maybe you have followers that have followed you for years. Do you like have that true connection with them? And like, how do you foster that?
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny because you forget that people are very invested in you, in your happiness, in your journey, what you have going on. Because I think when you are publicly putting yourself out there every day, you're kind of like, is this boring? Like, is this, because you're just living your life and kind of like, here's another video of my cat. Like and every time everyone's like, thank you so much for sharing that. She makes my day every day. Like, I look forward to it. And you're like, oh, people love this, or like, your routines and your kind of daily life, you forget that people are very invested in it. And it is cool. I have a lot of people that have, followed me since I started with YouTube and had it, just the different opportunities and work things that have happened, or, I get to work on a really big actress and everyone is like cheering me on and excited for me. And it's cool because you're just like, whoa, like people care, or like this is a real community. Because there's a lot of, I think for us as creators, there's also a lot of hardships where, some days it is like, oh, like I'm not feeling it, or I don't want to be on my phone, or, I'm not feeling creative. And even if you're quiet for like 2 or 3 days, you'll start getting messages from people like, are you okay? Like, I haven't seen you online. Is everything fine? Like you have these people checking in on you all the time.
Yeah, they're taking note.
Yeah. Even my mom, like if I don't post for 2 days, she'll call me and be like, is everything fine? I haven't seen you on social media. And I'm like, I'm just busy. Like I have other things going on. But yeah, the community part is really
whole other lives outside of these platforms.
Yeah.
Well, that's really nice to hear about, how meaningful these connections are for both of you. We're going to enter a mini speed round here and then do some Q&A from the audience, but I've seen some great questions lined up. So just quickly for all three of you, what was the most enjoyable partnership to work on and why? You don't need to name whatever brand it was if you don't feel comfortable, or you can just like describe it. So Alice, do you want to go ahead and start in terms of like the manager perspective?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's, again, I don't want to mention the brand name because, there's so many amazing brand partners we've had. It honestly, it just comes down to the people. When the people you're working with are very understanding of what the talent may be going through as well, and there's some flexibility and some leniency and some understanding and maybe compassion, right? My talent are people, right? First and foremost, they're people. They've got real lives, real emotions, real things going on. So it really is, with anything in life, it's all about relationships. Every single thing, business, personal, whatever it is, it's all about relationships. So when you just have brand partners that, continue to come back time and time again because the relationship is so great, and we want to do the best job that we can from my side, from my girls' side, they're really the best partners. I know it's a very ambiguous answer, but I don't want to call anyone out in case someone else is listening.
It starts organically, it builds on each other, It becomes symbiotic, but in a
right.
Yeah, I think the same for me. The best brand partnerships are the ones that they're just stoked to work with me and they love what I create. I mean, nothing is better than that, of them just responses that are just like, we're so happy, we love it, we love like, not that it's all about like having like a cheerleading squad around you, but it does kind of reaffirm why you're doing. I think it's that plus the respect of like they trust you with their brand to make the best thing possible for them. But I think
they're not trying to make something, not trying to make you into something you're not.
Yeah. So I think just people that are really like, it's a mutual respect and a lot of love, and those are always the best. And obviously, I could say for us, like I've been lucky enough to be on some really incredible trips. I can't deny that's really fun and really cool. And to experience things that I would never normally on my own experience. But I don't think it's all about that either. But it is.
No, that's really interesting to hear you say, because I hear so many brands rethinking whether they want to do creator influencer trips in the future. They're so often Instagram story based, and platforms have shifted. User experience has like shifted in terms of what users want to watch, and so some brands are questioning that. But it's really nice to hear that those trips really meant a lot to you.
No, they do. And if I had a suggestion for brands, I would say, I think the old way of inviting 50 people to the same thing and doing a big to-do probably isn't as powerful for both the creator and the brand as keeping it more narrow and, you know, more, I wouldn't say exclusive, but more unique to the person and the experience. Right. And I think more would come from it than just a huge setting, because if you're someone that follows maybe 10 of the same people and you see all of the same things, you kind of tune out because you're like, oh yeah, they're all there. They're all doing the same thing. But if it's, you know, 2 or 3 people, then it's more interesting, I think.
Well, we talked about like what we like with. I don't like when the brand, I give them like good stuff, like it's funny, it's good. And they're like, no, we want you to say this at this point and that at that point. Can we refilm this? And then I know like I can't work with them again. But the brands, we're talking about building communities. When we're building communities with our followers, like when that brand builds that community with us, all of a sudden you just want to do more organic posts. You want to just bring it up over here. You don't want to let them down, because I feel like that really nurtures and caters to creativity from our side. And that's, like Alice said, like we're people. I know it's a brand, but it's also like I'm sensitive. And if you don't like something, you can tell me nicely. Like, and so it's just, it won't make me excited to do something funny, you know? So I think remembering that has helped what I've noticed with brands that I love.
Yeah. How do you bring out the comedy when someone's like criticizing your work? I wouldn't be able to do it personally. So I get that. Okay, cool. So last question for you all before we move on to Q&A. Do you have any theories about where the industry is going next? Like, what are you afraid of? What are you excited for? Do you have any predictions?
I'll jump in. I mean, I think obviously we are definitely moving towards a creator economy, right? So, you know, influencers having their own brands is only going to continue to grow because they've already got their own loyal following and fans and people who are just so invested into them already. Obviously, there's going to be new platforms that come out, right? TikTok was the darling of COVID, right? It's the most downloaded app month on month for 2 years straight. So, but, you know, everyone knows that everyone's working on new platforms. So, you know, it's all about, I hate that word, but pivoting, right? Being flexible, being able to adapt. You know, if you don't get on the train, unfortunately, you're going to miss it, right? It's you have to just be open to what's next. Doesn't mean, to Nikki's point, doesn't mean she has to jump on TikTok. She's got a very clear, defined, you know, audience and brand that she has cultivated on Instagram, and it works really well with what she does. But, you know, there will be new things coming, and just being open to it. And brands should, you know, learn to just have fun, try it out, do a test and learn. You just never know, right? I know sometimes it's nervous and it's, you know, you're like, oh my gosh, these are my marketing dollars. And I totally get that. I was on the brand side for 25 years. So I totally understand. But I've seen the most phenomenal results. Things sell out overnight when, you know, one of my girls has posted something and they can directly attribute it to that TikTok or to that Instagram or whatever it might be. And that's really exciting because honestly, you know, I'm very lucky. I have the best girls in the industry and I love them all like my children. And, you know, I'm very passionate about them. And I just think what they do is incredible. And I know that they just work so hard and they want to do a really great job with the brand. So yeah, I think just being open to new ways, new platforms, new developments that are coming, that definitely is going to be a creator economy for sure.
I agree.
I mean, I've heard rumors that now YouTube has stories, maybe?
Shorts.
Oh, yeah.
Shorts.
Yeah.
Shorts.
Only started to see them performing well for brands, and it's in very unique circumstances. So would definitely be curious, like definitely try it out just to see if you like it, because it's starting to build right now.
Yeah,
I've had brands reach out for partnerships with shorts for sure.
Okay.
For YouTube, yeah.
I like what Alice said, like, just give me a shot. Like,
Right.
Just give me one chance and I'll show you. Like, it'll be like worth your while. Just give me like Rocky, just give me one shot and I'll show you the stats and you'll see it's funny. And like, you might not think it's funny. I feel like sometimes humor can be very esoteric, but I just know my people, and like the brands, they can do their job and I can do my job, and together we can do a great job, you know? So I think what she said, like, just give me a shot and I won't let you down. Just gotta let me try.
Yeah, I'll take risks. Of course. Great. Well, this has been such an awesome chat. So I want to open it up to Q&A from Laura. Any advice for up and coming creators that are starting to build their business from the creator?
Yes, I have advice.
You have all the advice.
Let me tell you, Laura. Okay, so when I got pregnant, I was unexpected pregnancy, like, you know, whatever. I was so embarrassed to show my bump because I was just in prime time, like single, like this is so fun. And then all of a sudden my body's changing and it's stretching and my skin's tight. And I live in this like community where everyone knows each other. And I did not want to go out in public because I didn't want people to see my belly, like, and be like, dead giveaway, she's pregnant. Yeah. So I think once I faced that and just kind of owned my decisions and didn't care what people thought of me, that just transpired into my creative role and how I started doing that. All of a sudden I didn't care. Some people always say, oh, you care about people that you went to high school with or college with, what they're going to say about you. I've had so many things flop and I just didn't care because I already had to face like that kind of judgment and overcome that. So I think my biggest piece of advice is just go for it. I feel like we hold back so many things. How many videos I almost didn't post that actually went viral? Like, just go for it. Just don't even let that be a stop for you. It just halts creativity and it halts more connection, and it's not beneficial to anyone.
Yeah. And once again, that authenticity of just like fully being yourself is what's actually drawing people in, probably.
Yeah. And I think my advice as well would be to really discover what works for you and what excites you and what makes you want to create every day. Because I think sometimes we can be really influenced by seeing like trending videos or things that are happening that maybe, you know, you're not creating as much because you're overthinking so much what you think might work or what might be viral or popular, instead of just truly doing what kind of makes your heart sing and makes you want to create content every day. And I think that now people really can see that, and they're drawn to people that they feel like, oh, that they're really having fun creating that, or they really love that, or, you know, I can relate to this person, instead of it being such like a scripted kind of like popular thing to do.
I think going off of what Nikki just said, finding what you're like, I knew I wasn't the prettiest girl in the room, or maybe, I mean, I'm pretty smart, but I wasn't the smartest, but I knew I could be funny. Like I knew I could make someone laugh. So just kind of honing in on that one skill and just really just pushing it as much as you can. And then you can have other things, and also being clear on what you feel comfortable sharing and what you don't. If you would have told me like 2 years ago, if I would have been crying and I would have made a video and posted it on the internet, I would be like, you're crazy. I'm so private in real life. I wouldn't have believed you, but I've been clear on what I want to share and what I don't. So I just feel like what Nikki said, just being clear on your boundaries, and then you can just create and not worry about anything else. So
yeah, create kind of like your guidelines and stick to them for yourself. Well, this has been such an amazing conversation. Thank you, Kat, Nikki, and Alice for your time today. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, guys. Bye.